Hello, and happy Monday, everyone. I am Julie Riley. I am the social media manager here at StreamYard, and I am so excited that you are joining us for another episode of Live Stream Impact. If you are watching on Facebook in the community, make sure that you have given StreamYard permission to see your name so we can say hi to you and we know where you're tuning in from, and we can answer any questions you have. If you are watching the replay, we are happy you are here. Make sure you put the hashtag replay in the comments so we know that you've come back to watch it again later. With that, we have a fun show this week. Chad Illa-Peterson is a good friend of mine, and he is going to talk to us about a couple of things: how he uses OBS for his show that he does, and how he incorporates storytelling into his social media and online strategy and into his video strategy. So with that, let's bring up Chad, and I'm going to read off his bio because this is the best one I've ever had. So we're going to bring this up. How are you, Chad?
I'm good.
Good. Okay. We have: following a hardcore snipe hunt, botched pizza robbery, 2 years in a bear suit, and several moments atop a 6-foot unicycle, which I believe is behind you. Chad Illa-Peterson, the story catcher, discovered the compelling power of stories. Today, Chad finds and crafts your brand stories, evoking emotional responses, resulting in higher customer trust, conversion, and retention. That is quite a background. Botched pizza robbery, 2 years in a bear suit. I don't know. I feel like there's some good stories behind all of that, but
there are, but the show's not long enough. The show's just not long enough.
Okay.
And that's not a 6-foot unicycle. That's just a regular size.
Okay.
At my age, I don't think 6 foot just doesn't sound like a really good idea.
No.
Probably break a hip. I don't know.
You don't bounce back as quickly.
Exactly.
But you do ride a unicycle.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I actually, after years of not doing it, I just decided to pick it back up again. I can still ride it. I just can't go nearly as far.
Now, can you juggle and ride it? Because I know you can juggle too.
I haven't tried yet. I think if I just decided to do it, I probably could. But I'd have to keep moving. I couldn't do the, rock in one place kind of thing.
All right. Well, we're going to
requires a lot more core than I have now.
We're going to need a video of that at some point soon.
Oh, we'll make it happen, of course.
Okay. So you have one of the most unique and creative shows I've ever seen, that I'm going to be a victim of tomorrow. I don't know if I should say a guest, a victim, because I feel like this is a show you're a victim of.
It's what you make of it. So it just depends on the attitude that you bring.
It's going to be a good time, but it is called Sub-Pellucid. So
correct.
Let's start off and we'll show what the intro to this show looks like. And then we'll talk a little bit more about what Sub-Pellucid is and how it all works.
Joanne says nobody loves the sound. Joanne, everybody loves the sound.
I love that.
So
that will be is that my intro for tomorrow? I know it's me in those pictures.
It's some of it. We don't like to show you everything.
Okay.
Like we still haven't put your name. It just says StreamYard, who you're with. But yeah, that was an abbreviated version. I figured you'd also cut it down for the show, but hey,
yeah.
If everybody is still here after having to watch that, then they're loyal.
They are. Yeah. So let's talk about what Sub-Pellucid is. And it's a very unique name. It's a word that most people have probably never even heard of. So let's talk about what it is and how you came up with that name.
Yeah. So you know how in our industry, especially in the marketing world, right? Everybody always likes to say, you need to be authentic. You need to be transparent. And my thought has always been baloney. Nobody's completely transparent. If we were, we'd lose business. The marriages might end. Who knows, right? Things are just going to get bad. So we're just as transparent as maybe we really need to be. And subpellucid is a word that means not quite transparent. And when we decided to come up with the show, my one stipulation was it had to be fun and it had to be unlike anything else out there. So kind of put this game plan together. In fact, I can show you here what we did. All right. I got a little movie presentation. I can show you what we did. Get hold on. Hey, cut the lights. Just if you could just dim the lights, just dim them. That's much better, much better. So this is kind of the map of how subpellucid came to be. We did this, and then we drew that line, and then we kind of put this in there, and we thought, well, we could use that. Would this possibly work? What if we put somebody over here and use their camera, or made them a weird shape? Or we moved people around, or we had weird transitions. What if we made it about absolutely nothing? And that's what it ended up being about.
Alrighty. I hope everyone got that. Took notes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to make it as clear as we could.
Okay. Well, good. I think that was perfect. And, everybody can take notes. There'll be a test on it later. We will have it all going out. I love this. Jennifer.
So, no, you know what? That was, we did that just because I did that just there to give you kind of a taste of that's just what the show is. It's being quirky. It's weird movements, crazy transitions. I had a weird box, around me, and just having fun and pushing the limits to see what we could do when we combine OBS and StreamYard together. So I saw the self-deprecating humor.
Who don't know, let's talk about real quick what OBS is and kind of let people know that this is definitely advanced tactics. This is not day one when you're jumping into streaming, and it also is dependent on your hardware, things like that. So let's kind of talk a little bit about what OBS is.
Yeah, so OBS is the open broadcast software. It's open source. People add all types of different plugins and ways to do this or that or this and whatever. And for a creative, it just kind of opens up the door to almost, if you can dream it, you can kind of do it, right? Now, we don't stream directly from there. What we do is we take it's almost like creating a presentation. I don't want to say PowerPoint because it's way beyond that, right? But you're taking that presentation, and then putting it into StreamYard, and you're just basically what happens is we choose OBS as the camera in StreamYard, and then we're allowed to use all of the powerful tools that StreamYard provides with the multi-streaming and putting our comments up on the screen, and it really helps with the engagement piece of it. So I mean, that's kind of it in a nutshell. It just lets me create and do weird things like put stuff up on the screen just as a push of a button, right? And have fun. There's our little shark from Subpellucid. So that's what it's about. So I'm controlling all of this with a Stream Deck, right? That's connected to OBS. But right now, OBS is what I've chosen as my camera.
Yeah.
Here with our show here in StreamYard. And so I can
use StreamYard as the device that powers it. So you're still getting all that engagement and all of those other pieces, like you said.
Correct. So, I mean, if I wanted to, I don't always use these transitions, but if I wanted to show, the view from the back and what's going on behind the scenes, I can do that in OBS and keep going in StreamYard without missing a beat, skipping a beat. Lots of beats.
I love that. Good question from Jennifer. She said, for someone who has downloaded OBS but never opened it up, asking for a friend, how do you recommend they get started without getting overwhelmed?
You're going to get overwhelmed.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's just going to happen.
You know, um, I had heard of it. I was incredibly intimidated, and I just jumped in. And things I wasn't sure how to do, I tried to look up or find ways to do it, or somebody to help me learn. I've helped others. Others have helped me. I'll tell you, the first show we ever did, my mic was never on. I talked the whole time. I could hear me in my headphones.
Nobody else could.
But it wasn't going across the stream, and that was because of an OBS setting. And then the internet shut us down, and OBS lost connection, and the show was over. And that was our first episode.
Yeah. And a lot of this is very dependent upon your hardware as well. Like, I know my machine would probably cry and like sound like an airplane trying to take off if I ran OBS through it.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
So,
I'm not sure what Livestream Labs over here says. Everyone knows this is false. What are they referring to?
You're going to have to, maybe, I don't know. You're going to have to elaborate on that, but I love this one. Are you suggesting that Subpellucid has engagement? Some days.
Some days, you know, it just depends on the guest.
You guys are all going to come tomorrow and watch and have engagement because I'm going to be on there. And yeah, we'll see what happens.
John Pullum, can anyone else hear Chad? Nice.
I love that.
Livestream Lab saw that. Chad's muted mic was the best live video I've ever watched. Or they're just being a wise guy because they realized,
yeah,
a silent Chad is a better Chad. So
some days.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
So I've totally lost my train of thought there. You know?
I'm sorry. I bring a unique crowd if I show up at a show, and they seem to think it's still Subpellucid, so they're gonna, they're bringing the fun chat and comments. So
yeah.
I do see this one question though about which part of StreamYard do we use? Yeah, the multicasting and the chat integration. Those are two huge pieces for us, because if you don't have engagement on the live show, if people aren't commenting and you're not speaking back to them, then you're just a YouTube video. You're just something somebody can look up. And so a live video, you have to give people a reason to want to be there. And it either has to be because they just don't want to miss out on the breaking news in the moment, or because they want to participate and be there. And maybe it's not always to comment. Sometimes it may just be to watch the other comments because they want to see other people's reactions to things that are going on or whatever. But that's why we created the show, right? It was supposed to be fun. It wasn't supposed to be another marketing show or a how-to show. It's just about the person and about their stories. And that's literally what it's all about. We just learn stories about whoever's on.
So Livestream Labs is Scott, by the way.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, so real quick, we have another video clip of Subpellucid from another guest that he had on, and we're gonna just show this, and this shows some of the other things that they use their features with in order to bring into StreamYard.
If you needed to use the restroom, you don't want to miss this next session, you got 13 seconds. So
you can do that in 13 seconds.
I mean, we try to,
I'm not judging them.
No, if you needed a beer, whatever it was, it's like this was for them.
Wait, that was an option?
On this show? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely on this show.
Oh, God.
People are always asking, who's that kid? Everyone really enjoys this, including the guests. So basically what we're going to do is I did a little bit of research, and Judy Fox is here, and she knows about research. Because we found
Judy, you got a born sister.
Oh, we found some stuff. We had fun with her. But I go through and I just see what I can find, and if something kind of like just piques my interest, and I'm like, you know what, I'm really kind of curious what's going on here, and I'm gonna ask the guest about it. So we're gonna pull some things up, and you just help us understand what's going on here. For example, here.
So this.
So It's a segment where you guys bring in different pictures that you have gone and scavenged from the guests' social media accounts.
And anywhere else we can find them.
Yeah. God only knows what there's going to be tomorrow. but
it's fun. It's actually, you know, as embarrassing, I guess, as people, oh, these are embarrassing. People say it's the part that's the most fun for them, right? Because let's face it, everybody loves to talk about themselves. And a lot of times we've gone so far back that we've pulled up memories that things that people forgot, you know, and they get to retell those stories.
This way, you had it out there on social media already. So if it's out there, that's fair game. So we have somebody asking, how do you add StreamYard to OBS? So you're actually adding OBS to StreamYard is the direction you're going, right?
Correct. I mean, you could go the other way. In fact, you and I were talking about that yesterday about trying an experiment, but we're not going to get into that because it could get really confusing. So we add OBS into StreamYard. So there's two main ways to do that. Okay. One, OBS has a tool built in now, used to be a plugin, that is called the OBS virtual camera. So you turn that on, and now whatever you're showing on OBS gets sent out like it's a webcam. So when you open up StreamYard and you select your video source, you're going to select the OBS camera, and it will show up. The other way is to use tech that's called NDI, and I guess I should try and remember what NDI stands for, but anyway, there's an NDI plugin that you can use that will also allow you to send OBS. NDI lets you do is I could send it to a different computer that's on the same network. The virtual camera, it has to be on the same computer that you're using. So those are the two ways. It's actually not that difficult. It's like anything. If you've never done it before, right? It seems hard. It's scary. It's daunting. And then you start to do it, and then you get better, and you get better, and you get better. And before you know it, you're so good at it that when you go to charge somebody for it, you're like, wow, I feel bad charging them because it's so easy. But it's easy for you, right? But everything starts off a little scary.
Yeah. And it's a way that you can add in some really creative elements. But again, as I'm going to preface probably multiple times, you have to have the right hardware for this particular tool, because this one is going to eat up a lot of your resources. You know, so this is, if you're running, you know, a lower end machine, a Chromebook, even a lot of MacBooks, they're just not going to be able to handle the load. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, it's true. It makes the computer work a little harder. So, you know, the PC, the desktop that I use, was purchased so that we could do and create these things, create Subpellucid, and then be able to, you know, potentially create outside the box type things for others on their shows. You know, what StreamYard allows you to do is to create these incredibly looking shows. They're super professional. Let you do all these overlays and all these great things, and then when you combine it with OBS, it just kind of opens you up to some other ways to, you know, maybe make the show even just a little bit different, more different, so you stand out. So I've lost Julie. She's worried about her mic.
I'm trying to fix my mic.
I realized that realizing that this is intriguing stuff.
I was letting
when
you
the host
talk.
is like,
you were doing good. I was like, my mic. So I got a brand new mic, and I'm still trying to work on figuring out all the settings. So, and it got locked on me, and I was like, I can't up it. It's locked. Yeah. So I'm going to have to figure that out, but it's definitely better than the old mic, which was way bad. So
now, I do want to, you know, this is one of the great things too, though, with StreamYard, is a lot of the things that you use or you want to do, they're built in, right? Mm-hmm. Where with OBS, everything that you've seen, if I do a transition, you know, you saw the little kind of liquidy pink and green transitions that I had, you know, those are all customized and created in Adobe After Effects, right? Some of the other pieces are created in Photoshop or Illustrator, or the promo, the intro video, using
Right.
Premiere Pro. So it's not like, oh, now I have OBS. Now I can use all those transitions. I can plug this in and this and this. No, you also have to create the pieces that you want to use.
I'm glad you brought that up.
It.
And so there is a lot, there's a lot of advanced tactics to this, but it's kind of neat for everybody to see kind of the high end capability of pushing the limits. Charlie, this is a great question. With a MacBook Pro, the MacBook Pros, unless you've got, maybe one of the newer M1s and you're running, super high RAM on it, it's just going to bog it down. The MacBook Pros already generally tend to run the fans on them, gear up at quite a high speed when they're not running a lot of resources. So I've not tried it on my MacBook Pro. I'm sure there's others out there that have, but it tends to be a resource hog, and I just don't know if the MacBook Pro could handle it.
Yeah. So that's, at the end of the day, most people probably won't need it. Right? Yeah. This is a want. This is a luxury. This is, Sub-Pellucid is a playground for me. It's where I can just kind of say, I wonder if I could do this on a live show. And so then I go into OBS and I start playing around to find out and figure out how I can do something quirky and weird.
Right.
So not everybody's show is going for that, right? So, I wouldn't obsess over it or worry about it or think, oh, well, I don't know how to use OBS, so my show's not going to be like this or that or the other. Everything StreamYard has to offer allows you to create an incredibly professional show that is beyond anything 99% of the people are going to do or create.
Yeah.
So
you're not going to see me incorporate OBS into my show ever. So it's not something that I need to do. And that's what we kind of just wanted to talk about, really pushing those boundaries and pushing those limits and using it, like you said, as your creative playground to see what is possible. Also, it really kind of ties into your love of storytelling. So let's kind of dive into some of that and really talk about your storytelling and why it's such an important element to your content.
Sure. At the end of the day, everything that we do, whether it's a quirky show like Sub-Pellucid or this, or content that we create, period, online, the goal is to connect with people in a way that moves them hopefully down a path, potentially if in the business world, to make a purchase, or just to connect. We all love to connect, and we're all wired for stories. It's how we connect. It's how we remember things. It's how we relate to things. And when we go live, if we spend more time on stories instead of just technical how-to, you're going to get more engagement from your audience, but you're also going to build deeper levels of trust. You're going to have people who suddenly hear something that you shared in a story that they can actually relate to, right? If you're just doing how-to, I can Google that when I'm ready, right? I can look that up later. But being in a moment with you, with a story, it's much more intimate. Mm-hmm. And so it's just about relationships is what it's about. It's about saying, you know what, I feel like I know this person or I know them better, so I'm going to do business with them.
Yeah. And I think that ties back to the know, like, and trust, which is kind of one of those foundational marketing textbook terms that people will buy from somebody that they know, like, and trust. They've got to get to know you, they've got to like you, and then you've got to build that trust factor with them. And by telling that story, you really are able to do that. And how do you feel that live video specifically ties into that?
I think live video, let's just take for an example. You're doing something about Google Ads. If you're just going to sit here and screen share and show me, now click this, and now you're going to do this. One, I don't see you. Best case scenario, you're down in like this little box over here, right? And there's this big screen. Feels like half the time they're blurry. You can't see them anyway. And so now I'm frustrated. I don't see you. I'd much rather hear stories about your struggles with Google Ads.
Right.
And if I go live and my show is, stories from Google Ads, or the nightmare of Google Ads, series, whatever, I'd much rather listen to that, right? Wow, the other day I had a client who was blah, 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 and they wanted to accomplish such and such. But when it came to creating Google Ads, the struggle was such and such. And as you share those types of moments in a story format, now I'm intrigued. Now I'm listening. I want to know how they solved it. Maybe I've dealt with the same problem, whatever. So you're still delivering a how-to, right? You're still teaching someone, but you're teaching with the story, with something that happened, that somebody had a struggle, they overcame something, and they were able to do whatever it was that they did. People will ask me, why did I get into OBS? Well, the truth is that I was kind of down. I think COVID had kind of gotten to me, and I had a friend who realized I needed a little pick-me-up, and he reached out to me and said, hey, how do you feel about doing a live show together? And I said, I guess, but if I did a live show, I don't want to do a marketing show. I want to do something that's just fun and
right
and entertaining. And he said, all right, well, let's do it. And so now suddenly I had this challenge of, okay, I've not really done live streaming. I need to learn live streaming, but to make something fun, I have to learn a way to do something incredibly fun and creative. And so it forced me to get out of my comfort zone and to learn these tools piece by piece, bit by bit. Trust me, we were on episode like 20, I think, before like nothing went wrong.
Right.
But we just kept pushing through. But it was because I had a friend who realized I needed a project. I needed something outside the box to get my creative juices going. So I'm grateful for OBS. I'm grateful for StreamYard and those tools. But at the end of the day, I'm grateful for the person who was aware enough to say, I know what this person needs.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good thing for people to hear too, is we get stuck in this mentality of every show has to sell or book or, create more leads. And sometimes they don't. Sometimes they can be exactly that, is something that is just fun, something that can entertain you, can entertain others. I had a live show for years that was held in a brewery that was a show about other people in our community that were doing interesting things. It had nothing to do with my business, not a single thing. I wasn't making money off of that show. I wasn't getting business off of that show other than that people saw the show and sometimes would come back around and be like, hey, you have this really cool show and we saw you there. But the whole point of it was to tell somebody else's story. And so, and not everything has to be that. You can still have your shows that are purposeful, driven to get a lead, to get a booking. But I think it's finding that balance and going, you know what, we've got this one, so now let's create something over here that's just different and kind of stepping outside of that box.
I think, we're booked through June, on Subpellucid. And I think it's because marketers, who we tend to, have on the show, now that they understand what the show's about and they know they're going to get, picked on a little bit or whatever, but it's every single one of them has said, I needed this. It felt like a break. It wasn't the same old. I'm going to be on this show to talk about this again. I'm going to be on this show to talk about this again. Instead, they were talking about, spring break, 1997, or whatever. but it's at the end of the day, it's just about making connections and about showing people that you're real. Not completely transparent, right? There's things probably, in my past that nobody needs to be aware of, right? We've all done things or whatever, but still showing that you're human. And the flip side of it, as a host on a show, if you're not so much sharing your stories, it's pulling stories out of other people. People tell me all the time, they're like, I don't have stories. And it's like, yes, you do.
Everybody has
you
a
just
story.
don't realize it because you just call it life.
Yeah. I
Right?
love this.
You just call it
Letitia
life.
says, right now I have a show called Sister to Sister Connection, and I make zero profit from the show. The purpose is building awareness. And that's exactly it, is not everything has to be that seller, that booking. So
I've had people that have hired me to consult and produce live shows. Not once have I ever advertised or said, hey, at the end of the show, if you're looking for a producer or you need consulting on your show, make sure you tune in or go to blah, 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 blah.com or blah, blah, blah. We just created the show. We tried to make something fun, completely different. And people saw it and said, hey, do you do this for other people?
yeah.
Right. And that's just happened. But we didn't make the show about that. We made the show about the people that are on the show.
Right. Well, and I think we get caught as entrepreneurs, as business owners, many of our people who are making their business on live video, they get stuck in the business mentality of, I've got to be producing content. I've got to be, getting the bookings. I've got to get all of these pieces. And there is so many moving pieces to having your strategy for your live video and having all of that sometimes stepping away from it and doing something like this actually gives you a relax and a break that allows you to get more creative with the other pieces of your business and be more productive.
Yeah, I think of cooking shows, right? All these cooking and food shows. The most popular shows about that are not ones that show you, now you're going to add 1 cup of flour and mix it, blah, blah, blah. They're not how-to, right? You're watching people make or do things, and you might get an idea of how to do it, and you might get inspired, like, you know what, I want to make a cake like that, or I want to do that, and then you'll go and you'll learn, or you'll Google it, or you'll contact whoever. But it's the drama and seeing real people have a story, have an experience, and a challenge of overcoming, I'm not really sure how to do this, and you want to see how it turns out. Can they make it happen? Will it work? Is it going to fall flat? And it's because those shows are completely story based. They're not how-to based.
It's funny, my dog
But they
was
still make
named
you wanna
after a
cook.
cooking channel. Our dog was named after a cooking channel star because we loved her show and her stories. And then she was Italian and we got an Italian greyhound. We're like, well, she needs an Italian name. So we named her after the cooking star. So, but yeah, that same thing where we didn't watch it because it was a recipe. I can go Google a recipe. So it's the story. And we have to think about that on why we watch television, or what are you scroll stopping on your Facebook feed. At the end of the day, we have so much content coming at us. What is going to get you to stop the scroll? And then think about, if that's going to get you to stop the scroll, is that going to get other people to stop the scroll? And start to find that balance of what's going to get your viewers to stop the scroll on your content.
Yeah. I mean, subpellucid. You're not going to Google anything and come across subpellucid unless you Google subpellucid. Right? But we have people who tune in every week, and we have people who watch the replay every week, and it's at least an hour-long show, and they comment the entire time. The entire time. Because they are curious what's going to happen. They're curious what stories are going to pop up.
Yeah.
That's
And we know
that's
that
what your show
you've
needs to
swapped
be.
up some of the features here and there. You've kind of added in some new little things. You're not, it's not every single episode from day one to day now is the exact same show. So
Correct.
it's different.
Correct. You know, and so people want to know what are they going to do this time, and what are they going to do with so and so. We always talk about our show, our live show. Tune into my live show. It's a show.
Yeah.
If you go to a show, if you tell your spouse, "Hey, you want to watch a show?" There's an entertainment value. There's something that makes you want to watch a show. And I think that's the thing that and I'm not a theater guy, so that comes into play. As I always want to make something a little over the top or entertaining if I can. But you come in for a show. So show me.
What are some tips you can give to some people who are struggling to find the story they want to tell, or struggling to put that together to do a video, to do something different, or even if it's the story within their business and in their marketing? How do they pull that story out? Or how do they pull it out of their guests?
That's a deep topic to jump into this quickly. I will tell you, one, if think you're telling a story and you keep using the word "and," that's a big sign that you're not telling a story. There should be a lot of "but" in the story, right? The word "but," not a lot of "but" in the story, right? Let's clarify. Okay.
We'll keep this
such
up.
and such happened.
We'll keep this G-rated.
I wanted to do such and such, but this happened, and so I had to make this change, right? So your story needs to show some kind of struggle, something that you had to overcome. But people get caught up, I think, and they think that has to be like this huge, life-changing moment. I overcame cancer. Well, it could have been one day I was struggling. I really needed to use the restroom, but I was tired and I didn't want to get up. And the challenge was just trying to get myself to say, you know what? I need to get up, right? That's a moment and a struggle and a challenge that you overcame. We have them all day long. And sometimes we just minimize them and make them so small. But I guarantee you, I'm not the only person watching this show right now who has been on a couch, realized they needed to use the restroom, and didn't want to get up. And they can relate to it, right? So now there's a connection. It's a weird one, but it's a connection. And so every day you're having things. And when it comes to your business, the challenge doesn't always have to be business. Sometimes it can be a story that you're sharing as a business owner that shows who you are and what you've overcome, or a character trait that you've developed because of a situation that someone who's buying from you says, that's the kind of person I want to work with, right? It doesn't always have to be, I want to buy that. A lot of times it's, I want to buy them, right? I want to buy that person. And so there's nothing wrong with sharing personal, real moments that aren't specifically, this is what happened at work, or here's what happened with so-and-so using my product.
Right.
Right.
I love
and the other thing is don't make the product the hero of the story. People don't relate to a product. They relate to you or the person who used that product to do whatever it was they did. I always relate it to like Star Wars, right? You go and watch Star Wars and the product, right? The product is the Force. But you can't relate to the Force. You can't be the Force. You relate to the hero, right? Luke Skywalker. So you leave, you're like, man, I really like Luke Skywalker. I want to be like Luke Skywalker. But to be like Luke Skywalker, I need the product that he had, which is the Force, right? So make it about you or a person, and you're going to be fine. If you get stuck, message me on Facebook. I'm happy to help you find that first story or whatever. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, what you can do with that when related to your business is you take that struggle or, like you said with the Google ads, and pull that into that story, pull in a growth moment you had. If you've started your YouTube channel, nobody started their YouTube channel with 10,000 followers. You had to build it somehow, some way. you had to put in the work, whether it was consistency, whether it was trial and error in figuring out what your right message was, but you had to put in that work and that time to get there. And somewhere along that way, there was a story. You didn't just turn on the camera and magically get your 10,000 followers. It does not work that way, unfortunately, because Lord knows we'd all have a great following on YouTube otherwise.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Letitia's dropping it over here in the comments, you know. She's
I
like,
know.
I tell my clients to don't tell stories, instead tell your testimony. And that, yeah, that works too. Because sometimes they can,
But a testimony is a story.
it is, but they can get caught up in that word. So I could see where that could work, you know, if that's working for your clients too.
I will, and not to be like, you know, that guy, but sometimes too, though, because I shoot a lot of like testimonials with people, right? And when you ask for testimonies or testimonials, it's going to be very product based, right? I used this product. I really love it. It did a great job. This is what it did for me. I highly recommend them, blah, 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 blah. To get the story out of them while they're telling you that, keep asking why.
Yes.
I love this product. Why? It helped me get the stains out of my shirt. Why did that matter? I wanted my shirt to be clean. Why? And you might suddenly find out, well, this shirt actually belonged to a family member who meant a lot to me that passed away. Or there's this deeper story, and now there's an emotional connection. So if you're going to get a testimony or a testimonial, when you're talking to that person, keep asking them why. Keep drilling down, and you're going to find, I tell you, I promise you, you will dig stuff out of them. And especially, you can't do it like you're being nosy, right? Well, why? Right? But truly be concerned and wanting to understand, you know, well, why was that so important to you? You know, I really love my mom. Well, you know, I get that. A lot of people love their mom. But why did you love your mom so much? And now we're going to find out more about mom, things that she did. You know, wow, that's incredible. Your mom was like that. What made her like that? Why did your mom become that kind of person? What molded her into that? Now there's a story. Oh, well, her mom did blah, 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 and all of the, right? And so you're just going to find, I promise you, gems that not only did you obviously not know, but a lot of times they didn't know, or they just haven't thought about in a long time. But that's when the magic happens. That's where the moments like are huge.
I love that.
Now,
I took a workshop from somebody that taught that same kind of strategy as part of their workshop, that was really getting to the heart of the core of the reason.
And it's not easy to do. You know, it can be a little nerve-wracking. You feel like you're prying or whatever. But if you're in a situation where somebody's agreed to talk to you in that particular way, then pull that out. You know, you're not going to really see that on Subpellucid, we'll tell you, right? Because there's a lot of shallow type stories and moments in that show. But I do have an idea for a show that I am thinking about doing that does a little bit more of the digging and learning more about individuals and who they are and what makes them tick, you know, in that way. So, but on your live show, you either have to tell them the questions, tell them your stories, or if it's a guest, then you need to pull the stories out of them. By the way that you talk.
I love it. I think that's perfect. We are getting close to the top of the hour. Crazy enough. It's amazing how fast it goes. I think we need to go ahead and we're going to do a giveaway.
Okay.
And we're going to add that in. You're going to pick the winner.
Ah.
Because I don't have a fancy tool to pick the winner yet. It's in the works.
Bringing my partner in crime here to help me.
And so what we're going to tell everybody to do is we're going to have them, and they're going to win a StreamYard mug. So, So, and it's a like, well, I've got a tea bag, but it's
I
a
was
large.
like, ew.
Yeah, sorry, it was my tea. They are large mugs. They are nice. I love them. Yeah,
Tea, not coffee. Why tea?
coffee's not been agreeing with me, so and I can still get caffeine off of my tea, and it's nice warm drink, and yeah. So I
Had you
scaled.
drank tea before?
Oh yeah,
Or is
I've
that
always
new?
drank. No, I've always drank tea. I've always drank tea and coffee, and just more recently, coffee and me have not been getting along. So I still
When
drink
you
it
were younger, what
occasionally.
was more in the house, tea or coffee?
Tea. My parents didn't drink coffee.
Why?
Um, I don't know. I just don't think they liked it. They started drinking coffee probably about 15, 20 years ago. But when I was
Whose
growing
fault
up,
was that?
huh?
And whose fault was that?
Probably mine.
Who you brought them over to the dark side?
Probably mine. So, because I was a bit of a coffee addict. So, yeah. I know. I
And
can
so
see.
this is
I
how you
love
just take a regular.
it.
this
Yep.
is how you do it, right? That's how you do it. You just find
Ex-
a moment in the conversation where it's like, okay,
yeah.
that's a little
So,
different, tea versus coffee. So let's
yeah.
dig into that and see where it can go, right?
No, I think that's perfect, and that's exactly what you do, and you just pull the story out as you're going along. So, Letitia, I will send you the names. I've got like a whole slew of different tea in my kitchen. I've got probably 15 different flavors right now. So, I do. I enjoy hot tea. So, and I don't need to
Right.
add
And now
anything to it.
now there's somebody who is interested in about tea, and now there's a connection,
Yeah.
right? And you guys are going to have a conversation and conversation. I mean, you might already know each other, but let's pretend you don't. But that's how it works, right?
Yep.
And that's how live streaming with stories works, because now somebody in the comments connected to something that we were.
Yeah. And so
Telling stories
I'm going to
about.
put you on the spot for a minute while we
Yeah.
are waiting for everyone to post their hashtag. I'm going to pull that banner down for a minute, and I want you to tell us why you love StreamYard. And I'm going to, oh,
Wow. Why I love StreamYard. I think for me, right off the top, I will tell you one of the things is because when we first rolled my show out, I wasn't using StreamYard. And when we lost connection, the show stopped. And StreamYard has some things in place that allows the show to keep going with the guest while you figure out how to get reconnected. But for me, it's the ease of use, the ability to just kind of click buttons and make things happen. It really improves the engagement by not just seeing the comments from the different platforms that you're on at the same time, again, because of StreamYard, but because you can bring them on the show, not just the comments, but to easily send somebody a link and bring them on if you want to have a conversation. I think it's just the ease of use. It's reliable. And the other thing is I will tell you that StreamYard is more than just a platform. It's a family. The community online in the groups are very active. And there's people from all walks of life. It's not just marketing people, right? It's people from all walks of life that have something or a message that they want to share. And they're all different skill levels, and everybody's willing to help each other out. I really love the StreamYard community. That to me is probably the biggest perk of using StreamYard. So
awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that.
no, new
And
look.
let's see. We'll put that up since you talked about the StreamYard community. This is how everybody can go find the StreamYard community. It is our Facebook group, and you just got to request to join, answer a couple questions, and we'll let you in if you're not already a member. If you're a member, feel free to ask questions in there or help answer questions that other people are asking, because that's the beauty of it, is really the community helping each other. So it's not just, myself and our team always answering the questions, because you guys have learned things that even we don't always know because you're out there doing it every single day, working with the tool and coming up with other things. I couldn't answer questions on OBS or using other cameras like that. It's not something I do. So Chad, I want you to look through and pick a winner of somebody who has used the hashtag. You can do the random, just scroll your mouse and stop. That's what a lot of people have done.
I did the mouse wheel and did a random, and then just did the little point and ended up with Joel. Amen. I'm not sure exactly how it's pronounced. Might be Joel and not Joel. My wife's family, they have a cousin named Joel.
There we go.
But either way, there we go.
Yeah. So
congratulations.
Joel,
you can drink coffee or tea.
Yes. Email us at marketing@streamyard.com and let us know that you won the mug today. And Joanne will get that mailed out for you. So again, that is marketing@streamyard.com. Now, where can people go find you if they want to follow you and learn more about you?
Well, website's storycatcher.com, Storycatcher on Facebook. You can just message me privately on Facebook. I'm perfectly fine with that. You can do LinkedIn, but I'm a messenger guy. If you have a question, just, tell me who you are and why you're wanting to talk to me. But Chad, Illa-Peterson, trust me, if you look up Illa-Peterson, I'm the only one besides my wife in the world, because we both took each other's names when we got married. So that's why it's hyphenated like that. Our names were up on the screen. They've disappeared.
They're back.
There we go. Instagram is at @the_story_catcher because somebody took the story catcher. But just find me. I'm easy to find. Hit me up. I'd love to meet you and get to know you. Yeah.
There we go. And that's the beauty of, again, StreamYard is you can pop all this up real quick and easily. I had that one pre-planned, but I didn't have the website. I just typed that in real fast.
It's the story catcher.
Oh, see? And I typed it wrong.
Thestorycatcher.com. Yep.
We'll take that one off then.
No worries.
And we'll go.
But still, I promise you, the best way if you just want to get a hold of me.
And I spelled it wrong.
Hit me on Messenger. Subpellucid has a Facebook page as well. Just look up #Subpellucid. You're going to show up. We also have a YouTube channel if you want to watch the quirkiness. And tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, we actually will have Julie on as our guest, or victim, or whatever.
Yeah, I was going to say,
drink
I'm
coffee,
not sure.
We'll drink tea, and we'll have fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. So you guys come check that out. Lord only knows what he has dug up from the past. I didn't go find any things in my past Facebook or pictures and try to delete them. So they were
we
all
had them
fair
way
game.
before you would have thought so.
Yeah, they were. I was like, well, I thought about the day you asked. I was like, do I go start scrolling now? And I was like, never mind. It's all already out there, so it's fair game. Yeah.
It's just a matter of how we present it or edit it to make it look like what we want it to be.
Exactly.
Context is important.
Yeah. And it'll be fun because it'll be a little bit of my story in some kind of funny ways and some kind of trips down memory lane, because I know that's a lot of it is a lot of the stuff from the past.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Well, I want to thank you for being my guest today and for talking about the quirky things that you're able to do with your show by utilizing OBS and really storytelling. And so I hope and I encourage everybody to go tell a story. It doesn't have to be your story. It can be sharing somebody else's story, but find those moments and find those stories that you can tell in your videos and in your lives. So make them fun, make them interesting. Life's too short to be boring.
Amen.
Yeah. With that, everybody have a wonderful Monday. Make smart choices and have a good time. We'll see you later. We'll see you next week.